Well, everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland Reviewer, and welcome to the Wasteland, my weekly show where I take a deep dive into a particular film, and we're getting a little weird with some John Carpenter, Big Trouble in Little China this week, and
A little weird. We're diving deep into the skid for for this one.
we're going way under the skin here. But Mike Hilty is here to join me to discuss this John Carpenter fantasy adventure. But Mike, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me to talk about. Boy, this one's a weird one. I'm looking forward to chatting about this one.
Absolutely. But before we get started, would you like to shamelessly plug anything?
Sure. Let's see. What do I got going on? I've got articles coming out on SiftPop. I've got a review for Wolfpack, for Swarm, and for others. I think Daisy Jones and the Six, which, and then preview of coming attractions, I guess. And then for Scribe, I've got a retrospectives article coming out soon on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which premiered a long time ago. It's been what, 26 years or so.
Jeez.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer is old enough to rent a car and get a hotel room on its own. It's
There you
great.
go.
And then Shrinking, a review that's coming out, a show that I've been enjoying a lot. So a lot going on
That
for me.
show's amazing.
Yes, it is. It's so good. So good. But we'll save that for another talk.
Yeah.
Let's talk about movies first.
So, for those who have not tuned in to Welcome to Wasteland before, we have three segments here. We have coming attractions, we have the feature of the week, and some recommendations to let you go home with. And for coming attractions, it's March 24th, 2023. There's a lot of indie things coming out, but there's only one film that matters, and that is John Wick Chapter 4.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It is the biggest. It is the most stylish. It is the most Keanu Reevesy of all the movies coming out on the 24th. And there is an endless supply of everything you want out of a John Wick movie in 2 hours and 50 minutes. But Mike, why are you excited for chapter 4?
Are you serious? Are you really asking me this? It's John Wick. Are you kidding me? It is John Wick. And I think the thing that I'm the most cautiously excited about with it is that um, John Wick is the fine wine of action movies. It just gets better with age. Just the further you get into all of
Mhm.
this, I there has not been an action trilogy movie set, probably with the exception of these most recent Mission Impossible movies, that has just gotten better with each one of them.
Mhm.
And to have John Wick 4, which is getting really, really great reviews, which I take it, yeah, even coming from somebody like you who's, I hear you like it. So, and for a
Yeah.
lot of people to say that it is the best out of all of it, which I'm cautiously okay. I hear you all on that, but for a fourth one to also be almost 3 hours long and still capture all of our attention, yeah, I'm I'm in. I just short of John Wick going to space, which that is how we know that we've completely jumped the shark. If they could find just more creative ways for John Wick to showcase, like, yeah, this guy can do literally everything, fine. Okay, let me see what you got. And I'm just excited for that.
And I've gotten to see the film. I
Yep.
got to watch it last week. It's it's one of those things where it's like it earns all 2 hours and 50 minutes. It's not going to waste any of it. And it is a stacked cast of like just one of the quotes from Keanu Reeves shouting out specifically Donnie Yen, Scott Adkins, and Hiroyuki Sanada. And it's just like Keanu Reeves was like, I'm a movie martial artist. These are real martial artists. And
Okay, cool. Good
and
call with that.
like you see it, they put the talent in this movie all on display. And somehow this movie feels one of the most personal to John Wick as a character, and somehow an almost 3 hour movie.
Well, and even
And
so, that's saying a lot considering how personal that first movie is,
mhm.
Like,
This feels like the closest we've gotten since the first one to really connecting with who John Wick is and really why this is all going on.
mhm.
And this is an extremely satisfying fourth outing. And also, I think they're finally going to push the button to start launching this universe, because it really feels like they set up characters in this movie that you're just like, I have to see their arcs and where they're going. And it's just like,
Well,
Lionsgate, Lionsgate has unlocked it.
well, good for them. If if I was a betting man, Lionsgate would not be the studio that'd be like, oh, you were able to do this correctly. There's a little thing called patience, I guess, and having a great anchor first and
Mhm.
foremost.
Yep.
Good job. DC couldn't even do that.
See, they were patient and set up 4 movies of one character to build up other characters to be like, oh wait, I'm ready to have them have their own movies. So it's exciting to see, and I can't wait till people actually go see this. And I got to watch on IMAX.
Ooh.
Um, it was an experience. It was insane.
The
Uh,
the closest IMAX to me recently got shut down. Thanks, Regal.
boo.
But well, should we be booing Regal or should we be booing COVID and streaming and
That was
such?
more of a boo to the universe. Uh,
I'm still booing Regal because AMC is still kicking just fine. But anyways, but the the next best thing, I guess, there's a ultra screen at our local Marcus Theater.
okay.
That's the closest theater. Good enough, good enough for now. But I'm
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to watching it on the biggest screen I can without having to go down to Chicago for
Yeah,
that.
I've seen Cinemark XD, like their IMAX. So, and like I just saw Shazam in a Prime theater
Oh,
for AMC, and boy did I feel every shake of everything.
great.
Shazam
Awesome.
punches a dragon. I felt it. There you
There
go.
you go.
I can't
Perfect.
imagine watching this in a Prime theater. It'd be like I'd be as beat up as John Wick was. But
Fantastic.
yeah, it keeps the pace, it keeps it going, and you don't even think that it's 2 hours and 50 minutes. But
Nice.
that's just our coming attraction. Now it's time to talk about Big Trouble in Little China, directed by John Carpenter, and this fantasy film finds Jack Burton.
Jack Burton.
Jack
My
Burton,
lord.
who is the most swaggering John Wayne character outside of John Ruth the Hangman that I think Kurt Russell has played in his career.
Well, yeah, considering just the sheer amount of just action action movie people, say what have you, that came about in the 80s. Man, Kurt Russell just goes for it with
Yep.
this. He he committed and we the movie is just so much better for it.
Mm-hmm. But we have Jack Burton, who's a truck driver, and he's hanging out with his friend Wong, and he gets pulled into this whole entire thing because Wong gets a new girlfriend, but she gets kidnapped by the forces of David Lopan. who, and then it just kind of from
Just
there.
explodes and just goes off the rails in a hurry. There's just what started out as just simple gang warfare turns into sorcery and black Chinese magic. Like, okay, cool. Let's
Yep. And
let's go
some
for it.
interesting tidbits here. So this was written by Gary Goldman and W.D. Richter, and then they had somebody come in and beef up the script.
Well, it was supposed to be a western. It was,
Yes.
and that's where you see some of the influence there, where Kurt Russell was just like, okay, you modernized it, fine. I'm still gonna do the western thing, though.
I'm
Is
still
that
gonna do the
okay?
John Wayne thing.
And they were just like, sure, yeah, just do whatever you want. That's fine.
It's
And
a lot
yeah,
of great mixing of genres in
yes,
a very unique way. And they wanted to switch it around, and then they fast tracked it because they wanted this to come out before The Golden Child,
and
starring Eddie Murphy.
and this
Bomb.
failed. This
Yes.
failed real bad.
This made like $11 million on a $25 million budget back in 1986. And this was the straw that broke the camel's back that got John Carpenter to say, F you, I'm not doing studio movies anymore. So
Isn't, isn't that ridiculous? That this is the one. This is the one that just just I cannot believe of John Carpenter's entire filmography that this is the one that just caused him just to go straight independent. I
what
cannot believe that.
which is interesting because realistically, most human beings can probably only name one movie after this that he made. And I'm going out on a limb here and saying They Live is that movie. And
Yeah.
his career never really hit the
No.
heights that it did before this. And it's a shame, but I'm waning here in the prime of John Carpenter. And then I'm gonna be talking about some crap
Yeah.
towards
Yeah.
the end
Mhm.
when he was just like, I'm done. I'm gonna count my royalty checks that I get from Halloween. And I'm gonna occasionally swoop in and make a score for a Firestarter reboot that's at least 20 times better than the movie that it's in.
Yep.
At
Yep.
least.
That's totally
Um,
true.
but this film, I want to pose something to because I saw this really interesting deconstruction of this film.
Okay.
Because if you look at it just from the outside looking in, it's some idiot white dude bumbling into a lot of like big over the top like Chinese stereotypes and all kinds of stuff like that. But
Uh,
the whole
but
entire point of this film is the deconstruction of the hero's journey. Because let's think about
uh,
this for a second. In a normal action adventure, who would be the main character? Jack
it would be,
Burton.
yeah.
Jack Burton is an idiot. He
Yes,
is a
he is.
buffoon. He literally shoots the ceiling and knocks himself out and misses half the final battle.
Yeah.
Outside of him taking down like the big boss out of sheer luck, he does nothing.
Uh, First of all, how dare you say that he does nothing? But that kill at the end of this is was my favorite part of the movie. I
It's all in the
literally
reflexes.
I it there you go. It came back. It came
Yeah,
back as the such a great callback. And what a weird skill for a truck driver just have in his back pocket.
yeah.
Just handy reflexes like that. Just who who knew that?
Who knew? But here's the thing: who actually has the hero's journey here? Dennis Dunn's Wong.
Well,
He's the one who has the girl, which like you have Kim Cattrall, who's also like a red herring to the whole thing because it's like him and her and Kurt Russell are off to the side here, just doing their completely oblivious thing.
Uh-huh.
And he's the one who's going in to save the girl. He's the
He's
one
the
that
one
goes in actually competent.
with
And
this with great skill and
yep,
calm, cool, and collected, who actually knows what's going on,
yep.
didn't just stumble upon this because, you know, Jack Burton wants his what $1,148
I
that
want my truck back.
that Wong just goes double or nothing like an idiot on at the beginning of the movie. Like,
Yep.
oh, I'm sorry, no, nothing or double. That's what he said. Nothing or double. Okay, cool. That's fine.
Which, and like Jack Burton wanders in like a child
Yeah.
who knows nothing. And like that's us. He is the
Yep.
audience, and we're just like, what the hell is this place? Which also apparently David Lopan is heavily influenced by the Mandarin, which I don't from Marvel Comics, which like
Yeah.
I don't
That
think that's a
that
hard
checks.
stretch.
That checks. Yeah.
And then you have Egg Shen, played by Victor Wong, which also James Hong as David Lopan. James
Just
Hong is a treasure.
he just he just went for it too.
Yep.
I think that is the thing that I love about this movie is that everybody commits to
Yep.
this very much. And the film is better, question mark for it because you could just tell that I at least hope that everybody was just having a blast making
Yes.
this.
Which then you also have thunder, lightning, and rain,
Just
which one of the most magical practical effect deaths in the history of cinema. It's a dude
you just
blows up.
and just again, just the effects for just everything in this. Those creature, like all the creature effects, all just fantastic. Just
That Watcher thing with all the eyes,
oh yeah,
grotesque.
just they're all pretty grotesque if we're being perfectly honest.
Oh,
But
that big shaggy Yeti looking whatever the hell.
whatever that was, it looks like a werewolf just said, I quit halfway through the transformation and just got stuck. Just like, no, I'm good. I'm done.
Its
And
eyes
oh,
scare it
just
like haunt my nightmares.
it's and
Wait,
just what a random what just random things to just put in this as if these two Chinese gangs and this all of this magic wasn't enough. Let's just throw in just some random monsters too,
oh,
just that don't have a whole lot to do in this either. They're just there to just show up and do something small, and then that's it.
mhm.
It's a very weird choice, but
It's a very weird
props.
movie.
Yeah, for sure.
This is like it's 95 minutes of just like going there and like Kurt Russell's outfit too. Like the jeans like tucked into his boots and the white sleeveless shirt that he has on and then his mullet,
The hair
the mullet.
just is, yeah, it is short of John McClane's outfit, which is, similar-ish minus the hair.
Yep.
Yeah, it is just peak, just macho 80s action star. And
Who is a
yeah,
joke,
just
which is the
absolutely.
best joke in the whole entire movie.
I
All
did
aboard the Pork Chop
Pork Chop
Express.
Express. What a great name for a truck. Like what a great name. And I do love that you pointed out just how the whole concept of the hero's journey is just flipped on its head between the two because they're just running parallel to one another yet it is the white dude in the middle of, what, San Francisco, Chinatown,
Yeah.
that is the one that we're just following through this. I just wonder if all of the like Chinese actors in this, or at least just Asian actors, were just like, really? Like we're following this guy, but it's Kurt Russell. No, that sounds like I'm absolving it, but it is Kurt Russell.
Well, I feel like the point of the movie is like because in so many stereotypes we have like the big, strong white hero and then his goofy, some kind of minority sidekick that's just there for comic relief. And it's just the opposite here. It's
Yeah,
the Asian guy that actually knows what the hell he's doing. And then the best part of the joke is that Jack Burton thinks he's the hero too. And he's so confident that he is. And he's not because he's an idiot.
well, I think I think the line in this movie that kind of just hits that hits that hard for me, that point hard for me, is that when Jack goes, if we don't come back, call the president. Like, what? What does that have to do with anything that's going on? And do you really think, as a truck driver, all the way on the other side of the country, that the president at the time gives a crap about anything that you're doing?
Ronnie
Right.
Reagan cares.
Sure. Yeah. I can't forget about can't forget about that. But I I I don't remember. I didn't remember half the lines when I did rewatch this today, but it was just that was the one that if if I was taking a lot of notes, that would be the one that I would just like circle and just be like, WTF, really?
Which this did get nominated for a one Saturn Award for
Oh.
Best Music, John
John
Carpenter.
Carpenter, of course, and you
Dun, 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 dun,
just
dun, 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 dun.
just so
Just
good,
the
so
Pork
good.
Chop Express theme, and this is just a banger. Get that electric guitar out, and just like you can tell John Carpenter had a blast scoring this movie.
For sure. I just wonder, as he's writing all of this, he's just giggling the whole time and just like, yeah, I this one is going to break the bank, just not in the way that he thought it would. A
Yeah, we
little,
got here's some quotes. Jack Byrne, everybody relax. I'm here.
of course, yeah.
when when some wild-eyed 8 foot tall maniac grabs your neck and taps the back of your favorite head up against the barroom wall, and he looks you crooked in the eye and asks you if you paid your dues, you just stare that big sucker right back in the eye, and you remember what old Jack Burton always says at a time like that. Have you paid your dues, Jack? Yes, sir. The check is in the mail.
I would love to see bloopers from this, just to again, because just because everybody is just so committed to this. I
Also, here's exactly what he said. Okay, you people sit tight, hold the fort, and keep the home fires burning. If we're not back by dawn, call the president.
Well, just the his delivery of that too. It was he's walking away and then it just does the dramatic turn and is like, call the president. Like if someone were to say that in an action movie now, everyone would be like, what are you talking about? Like, why? Why?
Oh, here's another great one. Jack Burton. You know what old Jack Burton always says at a time like this. Thunder who? Jack Burton. Jack Burton. Me.
Yeah. I just I just love how just not chill Jack Burton is throughout this whole movie.
Not
He
chill at all.
he just he freaks out all the time. I think that's just one of my favorite parts about this is that for an all like at the time action movie stars were calm, cool, and collected. Nope, not this guy. Not only is this guy an idiot, he is the biggest liability on this entire team. Well,
Yep.
at
Yep.
least at least Grace Law at least has some knowledge about what's going on. Jack Burton literally the whole time is going, huh? What? What's going on?
Yep. Yeah, it just kept reminding me of Walter from Big Lebowski. He's like, Donnie, you wander into a room like a child,
Mhm.
out of your element, and that's it. Jack's out of his element this whole entire movie.
Well, I, I think the thing that's just funniest about that is that the buildup at the beginning from first of all, great name, Egg Shen, just
Yep.
great name for that.
Mhm.
Um, it is just sold so well at the very beginning that like we owe a lot to Jack Burton. And from from that moment on, when the first thing that we see out of Jack Burton is not doing something gallant, it's him talking into you know his CB and just being like, just it is the equivalent of somebody just stopping what they're doing, putting a voice recorder on and just talking about whatever effed up thing comes into their head.
Yeah.
Like
Jack Burton would be a podcaster today.
that's that's so true. It is so very true. And unfortunately, he would probably be right up there with Joe Rogan and those guys from Barstool Sports, just being like, I'm just going to say whatever comes up in my head, and you all are just going to love it.
He is Joe Rogan.
Yeah, pretty much.
All I'm gonna say is this remake better not happen.
Oh, no, no.
With The Rock, it's the complete opposite point
Yeah,
of this damn movie. If
yeah.
The Rock plays Jack Burton, come
It's
on. That
the,
that tells me that he doesn't understand this movie.
really, The Rock doesn't understand the movie.
The
Okay,
source
yeah,
material.
right.
You
Because
mean like
Black
Black
Adam
Adam?
was, just spot on. Okay, yeah. But no, you're totally right about that. And aren't aren't we getting to the point where some people, like some studios, just kind of need to get the hint that these remakes are just not working right now? Like I remember watching the White Man Can't Jump remake trailer, and I could not be less enthused about that. Like, can't we just leave these movies alone and just let?
Apparently not.
Well, we just
I
had,
love money.
oh, of course, capitalism, Lord Business. But at the same time, I mean, didn't the Oscars this year just prove that like, hey, originality still matters to some
Yeah,
extent or
they
another?
picked the most original movie to be nominated for Best Picture in like it is like it is, and this might not even seem like the longest time, but it's certainly the most original film since Shape of Water to win Best Picture,
Yeah.
which
Well,
also weird.
yeah,
And if you think about before that, be thinking a while.
yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's just like I really hope they don't remake this. John Carpenter movies don't need to be remade. Like I get Halloween and like
Do you though? Like, did we really need to remake Halloween twice?
twice.
Like,
I'm not saying that I wanted them to, but I get that. At least like there's a tradition of just remaking slasher movies until they're just hollow shells of themselves. Which
yeah,
like that most recent one, that first one got me excited. And then
and then it didn't.
evil and quality died tonight.
Yep.
Except only one of them did. The quality. Evil didn't die that night.
No, it didn't.
Oh man. And like they tried doing the prequel to The Thing. Here's the here's the thing. These movies yeah. These movies work because they're John Carpenter.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a charm, there's a campiness, there's just something about the way that he makes genre films that like not every director clicks into that. The only one that I feel like could benefit from a remake with a bigger budget to really flesh out the idea is Escape from New York, because that movie felt a little constrained by the fact that like he had no money. But you also have to get somebody to do it who has a personality.
Yeah.
Like,
And
and that's the trick. Like, you have to have somebody who's like passionate about this kind of thing. And like it's interesting because his politics are the complete opposite of John Carpenter, but S. Craig Zahler feels like a modern John Carpenter from a filmmaking perspective. Like
okay.
obviously he has very conservative perspectives on things, and John Carpenter has very liberal perspectives on things. They live, um, but like I feel like he can capture the the vibe
But
of it.
yeah,
But
the essence and such. Yeah.
the
Okay.
only potential thing is it would be interesting to see what kind of spin and perspective he puts on Escape from New York. Because, like, I don't know, but that's the thing. In general, don't remake John Carpenter's movies. Like, especially
Well,
this. This only works because it's absurd, over the
mhm.
top, campy, and just weird.
Yeah.
And like, unless, and like, here's the thing: the directors that can make this work wouldn't want to remake this.
No.
Like the Daniels. I could see them doing something really weird and crazy and interesting with this, but the thing is, they don't want to remake movies. They want to
They're
do
gonna
their
go
own
their own.
original stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see them remaking movies. I want them to do their original stuff.
Right.
And that's the thing. It's a catch 22. Whoever would want to do these remakes are probably not the best ones to be doing the remakes.
Well, not only that, there is a lot of care and there well care per se, but there is also just something about the partnership between John Carpenter and Kurt Russell as well.
Yes.
And these movies work, I quote unquote work, because those two are involved. And
Mhm.
you're not going to get that with some random person that The Rock picks as the director, who he's probably just going to put someone in place. It's like, yep, you're checking all the boxes that I
Same
need. You're
guy
going to
that did
agree to.
Skyscraper.
You're the guy that just agrees with everything that I say, and just all the things that I do are just great. And it's it's not going to be like a hit, but it's probably going to just like break even, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And then we're just going to be sitting here talking about this like, why did this have to happen?
So I hope it doesn't. We'll
Nope.
see. I don't know what studio's doing. If it's Warner Brothers, they'll probably cancel it anyway. So
Shade. Deserved. Absolutely deserved.
yep.
Especially if the lead's a woman, of course. Jerks.
Awkward and true. But for those who haven't seen the show before, we have one last segment for you. We got some recommendations for you. Mike, what would you like to recommend to all these wonderful folks to go check out?
So, a quick story. I sometimes go through Netflix and click on, yeah, remind me when this comes out, because I don't know if you know this, Shane, but there's a lot of stuff on TV to watch nowadays. And since my primary focus right now is TV, and between like this month alone, just rattling off between Poker Face, The Last of
Mhm.
Us, Ted
Mhm.
Lasso starting back up
Mhm.
later on this month. We've got Succession, we've got Yellow Jackets and all that. Yeah, it's hard to keep up. So from time to time when I go through Netflix, like, yeah, remind me when this comes back on. And that happened when I was watching Swarm, which is another good one on Amazon to watch. Um, I got a notification that, hey, Agent Elvis is available, and I did a trailer preview for that on Scribe, and I was like,
Yep.
okay, I'm excited about this. Matthew McConaughey is the voice of Elvis, who does not try at all. He saw what Austin Butler did and said, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'll just
I'm just
do
gonna be
my own
Matthew
thing."
McConaughey.
But I finished it not too long ago, and it's so much fun. It's If you love Archer, you're gonna like this. Like I'm not gonna be so bold as to say that you're gonna like it better than Archer, because Archer is fantastic, and there's a reason why it's stood the test of time. But if you like something in that same vein where
Mhm.
it's just kinetic action the whole time, it's crude, funny, and even smart humor, some great side characters as well, and just ridiculousness from your
Mhm.
main character, Elvis, in this case. Check out Agent Elvis on Netflix. It's I'm hoping it's one of those shows that's going to last a little bit longer than one season, because Lord knows that Netflix needs something right now, because they're canceling pretty much everything like
Yep.
most studios are nowadays. But I think if they give it a little bit more time, especially with
Not
how
this
it ends.
that 90 show.
Oh, of course. Can't forget about that. Playing it safe with that 90s show, whereas a lot of their other original-ish stuff, they're just like, we're good. You set up a perfectly good premise for season two, but you didn't get the viewership that you hoped for, so, or that we hoped for. So sorry about you. Good
Yeah, it's a
night.
dangerous time for television. Like I got really sad when I heard Avenue 5 got canceled. And that was really hitting its stride over on HBO. Oh my God, that was one of the funniest shows I watched on TV. Made me
Wait,
very sad.
you're saying HBO, part of
No.
Discover Warner Brothers is canceling a show that
What?
war warrants,
What
continuation? What?
what
Really?
the hell did I just say?
Ugh, this is this is news to me.
How did
Weird.
Perry Mason get a second season?
I liked first season of Perry Mason, but
I
yeah,
did too, but like I feel like there's so many more dynamic shows on television and like I'm watching the second season of Perry Mason with my wife. Obviously we just finished The Last of Us and I'll be watching Succession starting next Sunday.
Mhm.
Um but and that's ending, Ted Lasso's ending, Barry's
Barry's
ending.
ending. That I was shocked that Barry trailer dropped, and it confirmed. Like, there was some suspicion that, yeah, like, this is it, but yeah, that I'm very excited. There's a lot of really great TV, and a lot's ending right now, which makes me
Mhm.
sad, but yeah, for some of these, it's time. The only one that I'm like, really, you want to end this now is Succession, because I feel like it's at, like, the height of HBO's powers right now, but you know go out on top, I
Yep.
guess. Good for you.
Brian Cox doesn't care.
Oh no, he doesn't like any of this method acting. He doesn't like any of this stuff. He is very close to just pulling a get off my lawn,
Yeah.
and I'm
Brian
I'm
Cox is
all
retired from
I-
acting.
I'm
He's
all
pulling a
for
Gene
it.
Hackman and just being like, these bitches just disappear.
Bye. I'm done.
Yep. Well, I am gonna throw out one quick thing from I don't usually do TV recommendations on here, but I did watch the first episode of Lucky Hank.
Yeah.
And as somebody who works at a college, damn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which for some reason I thought like I didn't really read too much into it. I just assumed it was a Vince Gilligan show because it's on AMC. It has Bob Odenkirk in it, but it's from Toby from The Office,
Yep.
who wrote it and directed. The first episode was directed by Peter Farrelly. I'm just like,
Oh,
interesting.
okay. These were interesting choices. Yeah.
It was a great first episode, and it just captures the absurdity of what it's like trying to teach anybody today.
Hmm.
And also, they really captured an English department. Oh
Yeah.
man. It's a great first episode, and I think it's worth a watch. And it's on AMC. Don't get AMC Plus, the streaming service. Just buy the channel on Amazon because that app is
Yes.
trash.
That app is horrendous.
Horrendous.
It is
I
not
had
good.
to cancel my subscription and get the channel on Amazon, which not like Amazon has the best interface of streaming services, but like
It's
it
better.
looks like a
it-
Bentley
yeah.
compared to
The the beat up junker that I got in high school when I first learned, or when I was first starting to drive.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that.
yeah. And
Maybe we could talk about that sometime soon. You know.
and one specific episode of a show that I want to do a shout out to as somebody who works in higher ed. South Park just did a Chat GPT episode, and it was the most glorious thing I've ever watched on television. I just because like I have staff meetings every week, and each week somebody brings an article to the group and we discuss it, and it's all been about ChatGPT this semester. And with South Park, you've hit a cultural zenith when you are not a side gag on South Park. You are a
What
whole
the
damn episode.
um
And the gag at the end where it said written by Trey Parker and Chat GPT, I lost it. Lost it.
those guys still have it. I cannot believe that. But
And that's the
they
thing. Them putting out 6 episodes a season at this point is fine if they're pumping out stuff like this.
well, there you go. Quality over quantity. There you go. I will
Maybe
take
the
that
British were
every day.
right. Because
That's
like
true.
I watched 5 episodes of Kunk on Earth and it just made me laugh
Oh,
for days.
that was great. Yeah.
Uh, but for my actual movie recommendations, so I'll
Oh,
keep them to the point. One, new movie, Pinball, The Man Who Saved the Game. So Mike Faced from West Side Story plays the man who saved pinball and got it unbanned in New York and Chicago and everywhere else because pinball was banned because it was gambling created by the mafia to steal our children's money. I wish that was fiction, but that's the actual justification for the banning pinball. And this is
oh,
a meta frame narrative that has so much personality. I love Mike Faced. He's a really fantastic talent. So like, and this is like a 90-minute movie.
mhm.
It's on VOD, definitely worth your time. For my movie club, I rewatched one of my movies, When Harry Met Sally, arguably one of the greatest rom-coms of all time. And just I can't wait to so shamelessly plugging one of my other shows, the Development Help podcast with my movie club is just I can't wait to talk to a group of men about the things that happened in When Harry Met Sally. Because like one of the like I was watching with two of my friends and my wife, and I'm like, can a man compliment the how attractive one of his female friends are? And that just opens up a whole entire conversation. There's so many
Oh,
things to process from that movie, and it's also hilarious, perfectly written and wonderfully directed by Rob Reiner, and then his mother's cameo. I'll have what she's having.
just mic drop. That's it.
Yep, there you go. And
Perfect.
a little tease to every single episode of our show, we ask, would we take our protagonist from the movie that we will talk about to Applebee's? Because our friend Matt's is big fan of Applebee's. It's literally the only time I go to Applebee's is with my friend Matt. But
Is
what
Applebee's literally the only restaurant around that would warrant somebody wanting?
there's a lot of memories from college of going to the Applebee's that was 5 minutes from Ryder. Um,
Okay, that's fine.
I can't eat that crap anymore. I'm gonna be in the toilet all night.
Yeah.
Welcome to your 30s. But the thing is, it's a funny thing of like, what would happen if we brought Harry and Sally
Oh,
Applebee's?
yeah.
And then the last one is I have not watched this movie in probably 20 years at this point, but I'm going to be interviewing Adam from SiftPop about it, is the Burbs.
Oh, wow.
And I remember pieces of this movie, and this watching as a 31-year-old is glorious. And also
Mhm.
as a millennial living in 2023 and being like, can Corey Feldman afford his own home? And I was
Yeah.
just being like, how young are all these? Well, obviously not Bruce Dern. But like, if Burbs was made today, there'd be a MAGA sign on
Oh,
Bruce Dern's lawn. Um, and Tom Hanks would probably have his Biden's out front
right.
and everything. But like, here's the funniest thing. I'm sitting and watching The Burbs, which is a fantastic dark comedy
Mhm.
about suburban life, which is so on point. I feel like this movie is what if they made the Munsters from the neighbor's perspective? It just gave me that idea. I'm like, they would do all these things, wouldn't they?
Mhm.
They'd be creeping on the Munsters' house the whole entire time, thinking they're offering people up to Satan and
Yeah.
stuff like this. And mind you, this is from Joe Dante, who made Gremlins and The Howling and Small Soldiers.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I had such a blast with the Burbs. I'm so glad that Adam wanted to talk about it because rewatching it was a blast.
I can, if you want, I can give you an actual movie one since I went on a big TV tangent. So every Friday, my family and I we do family movie night, and we are
Okay.
just wrapping up the Night at the Museum series.
Oh,
And I was surprised. I was surprised. But the last one, I think the thing that hit hardest for me was that at the end when it's Robin Williams just saying goodbye. And
I'm gonna walk away now.
little did we know that not too long after that, we would literally be saying goodbye to Robin Williams.
You know what's
And
funny,
that
Mike,
got me good. Yeah.
is I just binge watched a whole bunch of Sean Levy films because I'm gonna be shameless plug appearance on the Infinity Film Podcast with my buddies Rod and Ben, and they do ranked lists of directors' filmographies or actors' filmographies. We did a Matt Reeves one,
Ooh. Ooh.
and then Sean Levy um overall. And like I hadn't seen the third Night at the Museum movie, so I literally watched that for the first time like 2 weeks ago, and it got me, Mike. That
It
ending, I'm just like, dang. And then they ruined it by having Rebel Wilson and her Ben Stiller Neanderthal.
caveman, yeah, guy. Yeah, that
Did they
would
not learn
be
from the second one? Stop having humans falling in love with these wax figures.
right. That just that the end of that just reminded me a little bit of just how boy, that Toy Story 3 ending is pretty great, isn't it? Oh, and we're not going to go back to that. Let's just let that story be. If they just would have faded to black and just had it where, you know, Ben Stiller and his son, the guy, I don't know is the actor's real name. It's the guy from one of the guys from
Oh,
Righteous
Skylar
Gemstones.
Gasondo.
Sure, sure.
I think
Yeah, let's
that's it. Yeah, because he's from the Righteous Gemstones
yeah.
and
Um
from Booksmart.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, but yeah, if they just would have had it where it's this big goodbye, and just to end with Teddy Roosevelt like that. Smile, my boy. The sun is rising. Like ah. I'm probably gonna go on a Robin Williams kick because of this. But but in reality, yeah, like those Night at the Museum movies, they're not bad. They're not bad. I definitely recommend them, especially if
They're
you've got kids.
overly critic, like the critic ratings on Rotten Tomatoes on all of them are in the 40s. I'm like, come on. Like that first one's at least a nice little movie.
Yeah,
Like I feel like some people just don't want to have fun. Like I'm not saying these are the most, well, I think it's an interesting concept. It's an original idea. I'm not saying it's the most dynamic script, but like come on now.
we're
Like
not we're not dissecting how, you know, the job of a museum in this day and age is to, make history come alive and all that stuff. We're not deconstructing just the downfall of just like what public funding versus, all that crap. No, we're not doing that. This is or maybe we are, I don't know. But at the end of
I
the
think it
day,
hits on those things a little bit at least.
yeah,
And like, it's not like going full blown, like deep theoretical exploration of those kinds of things, but like it's a nice movie.
yeah.
And like the second one's a little too bloated for me.
Mhm.
They just try to shove so much stuff in that, and it still weirds me out that he falls in love with Amelia Earhart. I'm just like, did you really
Yep,
need to have him fall in love with a wax figure?
yep. That's weird.
And
That's
then they did it again.
they did it again in a weirder way. At
Even yeah,
least, at least like first of all, it's Amy Adams. Obvious, like how
sure.
could you not fall in love with Amy Adams? But at the same time, they at least brought it back a little
Yes,
bit,
but no,
which
that the
doesn't
thing in
get mentioned again. But whatever.
the third and the thing in the third one was just ridiculous. I do have to say, Dan Stevens as Lancelot, fantastic, and that Hugh Jackman cameo.
Oh, that was great. Just
No,
so good. My wife, like she was like, "Wait, is that Hugh Jackman?" I'm like, "Yes, absolutely." And he just like it just goes to show it's like, hey, when someone's given a great performance, somebody's got to play off of it so well. Him and Dan Stevens in that part, just
mhm.
oh, that was great.
I would love to see Hugh Jackman do Camelot now. There you
Yeah,
go. Maybe they'll bring that to Broadway, and I'll
maybe.
have to go to the West End. Uh, but anyway, well, we left you with a whole bunch of recommendations, and big one, go check out John Wick Chapter 4. As this has released, it's out in theaters. But those are our thoughts on Big Trouble in Little China and a whole lot more. But Mike, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Shane. I appreciate it.
And thank all of you out there for always tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.